Hi, such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today.
You too.
And congrats to the Tonic that he's managed to stand out in such a great ensemble film. I would like to start really early. How do you know when a cat is suitable to be a film cat?
I'm looking for confidence and food drive.
Mhm. At what age do you tend to look for them? Because I imagine you can't just train any old, you can't train an old dog, new tricks, something like that.
Every project is different. Tonic was adopted specifically for Pet Cemetery. That's how I
Mhm.
came across him. And he was 10 months of age. And for that project, they needed to double. There was a cat named Jin, actually, that was going to be the hero. And she didn't love to work, so she didn't end up working. But he needed to look like her, so he needed to be adult enough. Working with kittens, though, is really great because you get them from young and you can socialize them. But 10 months, it's still doable. A little older is still doable. The challenge becomes to socialize them to feel safe in the world after they've lived their life indoors.
And speaking of Pet Cemetery and now Caught Stealing, these are quite intense. And I think Tonic was also in Thanksgiving. These are all
Yeah.
like horror and thriller genres. Is this also like a specific characteristics that are needed for a cat to be able to thrive in genre films like these?
Yeah, what's really funny is I was really surprised when cats were non-bothered by us pretending to stab each other and things. It wasn't like dogs that were like, I'll save you. It was like the cats, we would start to stab each other and the cats would just lick themselves unbothered. And we're like, well, that's weird, as long as it wasn't directed at them. That was one thing I noticed about the majority of the cats right away. They weren't like dogs coming in to save you. But you do need a high level of confidence. Most of all, you need a good animal coordinator to negotiate. So we negotiate what those scenes look like and say, obviously, Tonic can't be in any of those scenes. You're going to have to shoot the action and then shoot the cat. But Tonic ended up being in the background of some of them, even though I said he couldn't because he was completely unbothered. As long as it
Mhm.
wasn't directed towards him, he was completely unbothered. So the good negotiation tactic is really good to make sure that the cat feels safe. The relationship with the cat. So the cat has to have a high level of confidence. One wrong move, the cat doesn't trust you anymore and he's not
Mhm.
going to play with you anymore. So the pressure to make sure it's fun for him the entire time is really high for the humans. Hopefully the cat, and in Tom's case, doesn't notice that they can just have fun.
Mhm. So how does a day in the life of Ton look like when he's perhaps not shooting at the moment? Do you
Yeah,
still want to keep him trained for in case he does get to shoot something else?
yeah, yeah. This shop that we're in is we live in the country, and the shop that I'm in right now is our training facility that's in the country, and we use it for training and enrichment. But he does have to have a lot of exposure to the world and training and wants to because cats, the typical cat you think about sleeping all day. That's what the level of stimulation and enrichment that they become used to.
Mm.
Tonic becomes used to getting a lot of stimulation and a lot of treats and they actually really enjoy that. They're not different from us, right? They're the same as us. They want a lot of stimulation, they want a lot of reinforcers. When we take that away after a movie, the cats are not happy. They want to be the center of attention. They want the world to revolve around them. So I have to make sure that he gets a lot of that to stay happy. So I give him a lot of training sessions in here. I take him out and do a lot of training sessions in public, which always looks funny. It attracts a crowd. Like, why are you walking a cat? Why are you doing a tricks in a cat in the middle of a department store? And then Tonic is a star in our live performances. So we travel and perform with him all year.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what gives him the edge is that he performs for screaming fans and he gets out to
Wow.
fairs. And he sees it all. He loves that.
Yeah, I was wondering because I also saw him on the premiere with the little leather jacket on.
Yeah.
So he's not just on set, but also used and to crowds and to people. I guess also the loud and hustle and bustle, not just on a film set, but also at a film premiere.
Yeah. Yeah, because not like a lot of film cats, there's variations of film cats. Some of them are good outside, some of them you manage the environment and they're in quiet spaces because that's what cats are used to. Tonic is used to carnival rides and people screaming and hanging off carnivals and laughing and action. He doesn't mind it at all. So when I took him down to New York, he was completely unbothered by the chaos. But the premiere was interesting because I thought Tonic is a special cat meets a very experienced, like I've been training animals for 20 years, or 27 years. So when I meet up with a cat that is this amazing partner, I wanted to showcase how incredible he was by having him drive onto the premiere in a mini car, because I wanted people to see what he was, and I feel like that reflected that just perfectly.
You just mentioned how he got involved in Pet Cemetery. How did the auditioning process for Caught Stealing look like?
For cod stealing, I got an email from Darren's team from the UPM, and it was, we're looking for a cat for this production. And what I do at that moment is I ask what the action looks like, because I'm not going to agree for Tonic to do just anything. And when I read it, I was like, oh my, wow, this is a lot of action. And so I said, look, because I'd done Pet Cemetery, I know that we're not just going to throw the cat in the middle of a horror movie. There's a lot of tricks that you can do to separate the cat. There are split screens, there are shooting the action and then doing inserts on the cat. There's a lot of things that you can do. You just have to make sure that you have the right team that cares about the animal. The people that you work with is everything. So I responded, I said, absolutely, I'm really interested. I want you to know that animal welfare is number one for me because of the ethical perspective. But also, I have worked for 7 years, 8 years with Tonic. He's my partner. He's my cat. He's my son. He means everything to me. He's like my life's work. He's everything that everybody feels with their pet, but more. And it's important to me that he comes out of this having had fun. And if you take that perspective as well, you're going to get the best out of him. They said, look, we're all in on animal welfare. So great. We're all on the same page. We do a Zoom meeting so that they can get more of a conversation about what I think is possible. And then I went to New York with Tonic to audition, which is like amazing. I get on a plane from Toronto, we fly to New York, we go to the office, and he's performing after all of that level of stimulation. He was still phenomenal. So
how did you introduce him to his co-stars? Is there did you have to do like a chemistry test as well, whether that would even work with Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz?
I asked about Austin previously because what I'm looking for is somebody who's compassionate to animals, and they can feel that. The thing when I say that an animal, I can take them to a horror set and they'll feel unbothered by that. A lot of that honestly has to do with my relationship with Tonic. It's like, he feels unbothered by it, but he knows, like, I'll never let anything happen to you. And I'm going to hand him to Austin, and Austin's going to take him into a car without me, onto the set without me. And he needs to feel the same way about Austin that he does about me, that I have your back. And if you show the slightest bit of concern, I'm going to take you out of here. And I was told by Darren that Austin was going to be all in. I didn't really research Austin because I don't want to be intimidated. I want to show up and look like you're a person, I'm a person, we're working together. Because the second I feel intimidated, I feel like a difficult fighting for what I need from him. I feel like, oh, he's Austin, he's got all these. But he doesn't, I was assured that it wasn't going to be like that. So when we had our training session together, yeah, Austin was everything that Darren said he was. He's absolutely that compassionate person that people say he is, which is amazing because that's what I needed to get success. Like, Tonic's success is only as good as the people who worked with him. And if Austin called him a scene stealer. And if Austin's calling him a scene stealer and there's any animosity that the cat is stealing the scene and he's not connecting, then it doesn't bring the best out of Tonic. So I rely on Austin so much for that performance. So we had a training session for the two of them to get to know each other. And he was a good communicator. He was caring, and they connected, and he felt that safe space with Austin like he did with me.
You mentioned before that you made sure that there wasn't a lot of action directly involved and that Tonic was rather unbothered. But I'm curious, there's like one scene, and maybe that was even one of these tricks that you said where he was inserted later, but where Austin's like feels his emotional stress at the beach, where he like punches the sand or something. Does that ever affect the cat? Because I'm guessing Tonic doesn't know that Austin is acting.
Yeah. Tonic wasn't sitting next to him. That one was CGI. Yeah, there
Okay.
was actually very minimal CGI. And so he was in a lot of it, but that was one that what we did is we put the stuffed cat in that because we knew Tonic's not going to like Austin. After he's sitting next to Austin, Austin's punching a pillow, he's going to be like, I don't like you anymore. So that was the CGI cat. We just knew in advance, and that comes down to the negotiation. We knew in advance he wasn't going to like that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I did get together with the person who did the CGI afterwards. I watched the movie and he said, "So, did you see what I did?" And I was like, "Wow!" I said there wasn't a lot, but there was that, and there was the moment where he was on the train that I don't. He was on the train, but there was a moment where he was on the train. And I was like, I don't remember being there. Phenomenal job on his part.
Mhm. And I think there was one scene where he's hissing that must have been digitally enhanced.
Yeah, because Tonic doesn't actually hiss much in his day to day. He let the other cats steal his food. The other cats sit on his head. He's relatively unbothered by a lot.
What's his favorite snacks? What are the go-to things you give him to get him motivated for a scene?
I have different levels based on what he does. So everything is very thought out. He gets temptation treats when he's sitting still because the other treats excite him too much.
Ah.
And he gets this Inaba chicken. It's like soaked in chicken broth, and you open up the package and the chicken is juicy and soaked in chicken broth. That's one of the highest. The lick stick is the highest. But if you give them lick stick, they start licking themselves. The Inaba chicken is pretty high.
So is Tonic, would he ever be considered for a family film? Or do you say no, he's perfect in more exciting genres?
I would freak out and dance for joy. My dream would be to do some sort of Homeward Bound remake with Tonic, where it's all about the cat and the cat is the star. And yeah, some kind of family, because it's funny, Tonic performs for children, and we say, this is Tonic from Pet Sematary, this is Tonic from Caught Stealing. It would be cool to have something for the genre that he performs for.
Did Tonic's behavior ever change the way a scene was shot, apart from something that was negotiated beforehand?
I don't think so. We trained for everything Darren envisioned. Yeah, we had access to the set. We were on the set showing him what was going to happen. So he pretty much he was all in on everything that he was supposed to do.
Mhm.
So he didn't really ad lib much.
Okay. And like, does the cat breed change anything when you train cats for films? Because I did notice, maybe that's just me being biased, but I did notice quite a lot of the film cats are ginger.
I think that they like that color. I think that the film, because the orange shows up really well. But I have heard that the ginger cats are harder to train.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so, because I have a ginger cat, and yeah, she never listens to anything.
They're saucy, right?
Yeah, is there any other project coming up for Tonic, perhaps?
There is. He's being considered for another feature, a smaller role, but he's being considered. We find out in the next couple days. They came back and they said, we're interested in another one of my cats. And I was like, did they not know who Tonic was? And then they came back and they said, oh, we noticed Tonic was in there, because I didn't push him. I just said, here's the cat.
Mhm.
And then they came back and they're like, oh, actually, and I said, of course you're interested in Tonic. He's a star. He comes with his own following. And what I found was really cool is that there's some A-list actors in it, and I can't say unless we get it. But they said that the director had called around and found out that Tonic was a star, and I'm like, how cool is that? They're all Hollywood's talking about. Oh, I called around. I felt really cool. So I hope he gets that next.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, I wish you good luck. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.